So, good evening, everyone. On behalf of the History Enthusiasts Association and the Department of English, Rani Chennamma University, Belagavi, I extend a warm welcome to all the participants, scholars, students, everyone joining us this evening for the second lecture in the ongoing webinar, Beyond the Archives, Locating Indian History in Oral Narratives. So, this series was conceived as a dialogue, as I spoke in the first inaugural session, a space where historians, anthropologists, folklorists, artists, cultural practitioners, they could all come together to explore the many ways in which memory speaks to history. And we often imagine archives as silent rooms lined with ink, paper, and record. But beyond those physical repositories lies another archive that we are hoping to explore. Uh, One that sings, performs, and remembers. So it is lived in various manifestations across generations. It continues to shape our collective sense of the past, our memory, and the aim of this initiative is not merely to study them, but to rethink what we mean when we say history. So, in this spirit, today's lecture takes us into the very heart of our theme. We are privileged to have with us Professor Sivadasan P., Senior Professor in the Department of History, University of Calicut, Kerala, a historian whose scholarship, vision, and commitment have profoundly influenced the study of oral history in India. So, sir, I welcome you on behalf of both the institutions that are hosting this webinar. I also welcome Sri Nandan Shastri ji, Honorary President of the History Enthusiasts, Ms. Nidhi Katti, Founder Vice President of the History Enthusiasts, Ms. Rachana Mane, who has joined us from the Department of English, RCUB, and all the other faculty members of Rani Chennamma University, all the office bearers of the History Enthusiasts, and all other students, scholars, knowledge seekers who have joined us through this webinar, who are with us today in this session. And with that, I now request Ms. Rachana Mane to kindly introduce our today's resource person before we jump into the lecture. Over to you, Rachana.
And good evening to one and all present here. I'm Rachana Mane, PhD scholar from Rani Chennamma University, Belagavi. It gives me great pleasure to introduce our today's resource person, Dr. Sivadasan sir. He is a distinguished historian and academician from Kerala, currently serving as the senior professor at University of Calicut. With a prolific career spanning over 3 decades, he has contributed extensively to the fields of modern history, archival studies, and oral history. He earned his PhD in history from University of Kerala in 2008 and completed postdoctoral fellowship in 2011 under UGC. Over his career, he has served as controller of examinations, director of distance education, and head of history department at the same university. Currently, he serves as the general secretary of the South Indian History Congress and has been a member of various academic councils and board of studies across prestigious institutions. His research works explores Kerala's socio-political evolution, the Malabar Rebellion, and subaltern narratives. His academic distinction has been acknowledged with awards such as Bharat Sevak Samaj Award in 2025 and the UGC Research Award in 2009. As a committed educator and historian, Dr. Sivadasan sir continues to shape the study of South Indian history through the leadership, publications, and mentorship. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Rachana, for the introduction. I now request Dr. Sivadasan sir to start today's very enlightening, very engaging lecture on oral history and its development as a discipline of knowledge. Sir, over to you.
Fine, good evening to all. I am teaching history at the University of Kerala. So I thank Rani Chennamma University, history enthusiasts, and all those present in this webinar. So friends, oral history has become an academic discipline all over the world, and it has started to appear in the uh, research departments of universities and I started to provide oral history as a course for my PG students uh, 2 years back, and most of the students joining the postgraduate program in my university opt this course as an elective discipline. And we have started experiments in using these scholars and students doing the practice of history by going to the village and nearby places of the university to record the lives of people living in the villages and also urban spaces. So, this doing of history has helped these students to move away from the AC study rooms and research halls and libraries to confront with the day-to-day, everyday problems the people confront in their daily life. So the problem with history discipline and generally with social science and humanities is that students are forced to remain in their classrooms and peruse books and archival materials to understand the society in which they are living. But the absence of local history narratives and books and recordings of the life of the people living in the villages familiar to the students have become completely invisible in libraries and also our digital repositories. So this has become a problem in connecting the knowledge they acquire in the classroom and research hall with their everyday life. This gap is to be filled to make education fruitful, making transformation in the life of the students and research scholars. Oral history is a remedy, is a medicine to cure this problem. So today we are going to see a short presentation on how did oral history become an academic discipline in universities and colleges and research centers. Today you might have come across scholars doing research in languages and also social sciences have started recording meet uh, ordinary people and also uh, conducting interviews to collect data in connection with the problem they are inquiring. So let us see how did this discipline become an academic discipline in the world today. Recently, I read a book written by Mariam Dosal. She was a professor at the University of Bombay and she has written many books about the western coast of India and also Maharashtra. Her latest book is Flowers of the Sun. She belongs to the Kutch region of Indian subcontinent and her family is also part of the history of the Kutch region. Belonging to a Hindu Muslim joint family, her tradition goes back to hundreds of years, the family tradition. So she went back after retirement. She went back to her native village in Kutch and began to meet her relatives and also the village people. And she forced them to speak their history and thereby by connecting the fact she collected from oral history from the field with the documents available in the archival repositories, she was able to bring out a scientific study which tells how the Indian society came into being through symbiosis of different traditions over over many centuries. And this story is similar to that of many villages in the coastal regions of India. So the book is an end product of hundreds of interviews she conducted with the people of the Kutch region. If you go through this book, you can understand the value of oral history. When you go to the archival repositories and also libraries, you cannot see these kinds of people telling their own history, which they kept in their mind and memory for many centuries. And when these people disappear from the earth, this precious history is also lost. There is a saying in South Africa that when an old man dies, a library also dies. So, an individual's life for 60 or 80 or 90 years is an effort to collect history for 100 and 150 years that this person collects not only from his personal experiences but also from the mouth of his parents, relatives, and also the person who come across during his life. So it is a very urgent need to inspire people to do oral history research, oral history work on a scientific line and collect the memories of the people to use as a solution for current day problems. Archival repositories are not giving you the whole history. It gives you only one version of history. And that version is the version of the state, the empowered, the ruled, the rich, etc., or the elite. How can we find the voice of the ordinary people? These voices have become invisible in history because they are not written and there were no people to inspire them to write this history. So it is the duty of academicians to understand that history is the story of different kinds of people telling in different perspectives. This multiplicity of history is to be understood when we undertake a problem for research in history. So this book is very useful for us to understand what is the significance of oral history in human life. When you look at oral history, this is a scientific process which records historical information in sound, in the form of sound, by conducting interviews, and we preserve this interview for current day world and also posterity. So it tells you the person's life history and also the eyewitness account of an experience. Oral history, the preliminary thing that we have to understand is that oral history is the end product and also a methodology. For these two tasks, we use the same word oral history. It is both methodology and it is also the end product. We collect oral history through interviews and we preserve this material for research and also for posterity. So the collection, the method, and also preservation are three functions involved in oral history work. Generally, we understand that oral history work is a work involved in which two people are involved. One person undertakes the responsibility of asking questions, the other person gives you answers, replies, or narrations to the questions the interviewing person raises. So, in oral history, we see two tasks are important. One is the interviewing job, the other one is preserving the material, either in the form of a digital material or a transcript for study in the future. So through preserving this material, we make available the knowledge of a person for research, and thereby we share the information to the public. So we see that democratization of knowledge is very important to empower the people to see answers for the queries they disturb their everyday life. So oral history is very vital in empowering marginalized people in the world. Once you historicize the people, they would become very powerful to ask questions to those who exploit them. So in that respect, it is very important task of a social scientist to undertake oral history work in research. With regard to the development of this discipline as a scientific discipline, Alistair Thompson, who is a leader of the theoretical development of oral history discipline, wrote in 2007 an article which explained the transformation of oral history in 4 stages. All these stages appeared in the 20th century when the world was facing a severe crisis in the middle of the last century. This article appeared in the journal, the Oral History Review, which can be downloaded from site at free of cost. Title of that article is 4 Paradigm Transformations in Oral History. And also remember the name Alistair Thompson, a very notable fellow in oral history writing and its theory. He has written a good book in 2007 about the theory and the practice of oral history. All these books began to appear in the beginning of the 20th century. So our century has become the century of oral history because more and books are appearing with regard to research in oral history, the value of oral history, and its contribution in promoting research on the everyday life of human beings. Today, we are speaking about interdisciplinarity in research. When you go to an interview, you can see that an ordinary person is disturbed by many facts which appear in theoretical research as disciplinary questions. So, oral history work itself is an interdisciplinary work which requires tactic, patience, and also previous knowledge. Only an experienced person can do a good oral history interview. And by the 21st century, that person needs to know the whereabouts of the use of technology so that we can have good material for preservation for further research. The oral history reader gives you necessary skills for oral history work today. It is written by Alistair Thompson. And it is this Alistair Thompson who wrote about paradigm transformation of oral history in the 20th century. And recently, more and more branches of oral history are appearing. One such branch which I found more very interesting is the use of photography and its role in oral history. That book is also written by Alistair Thompson in 2011. These are the 4 critical stages, paradigm shifts explained by Alistair Thompson with regard to the development of oral history. He says that these are critical developments which enabled oral historians to to counter the criticism of conventional historians that oral history is absurd and also it is subjective. Till the middle of last century, historians were not ready to undertake oral history work because of the severe attack of conventional historians. These conventional historians were saying that oral accounts are subjective, it is changing, and they are not reliable. But Alistair Thompson began to argue that by equipping ourselves, oral historians began to defend these criticisms by taking precautionary measures and also becoming more scientific. He says that the discipline appeared in the world as a scientific discipline by the middle of last century, when the world was facing a severe war which is designated as the Second World War in the 1940s. People began to see that the world was in a severe crisis, and those who were not involved in war were also affected severely by the world war. And scholars began to attend the issues of the ordinary people. Poverty, crowd, mentality, rumor, etc. became the subjects of enquiry in social science research by the end of the Second World War. Fascism also raised newer issues in our social sciences. Because democracy was challenged, human rights were questioned, brutal massacres were seen. So issues, newer and newer issues came in front of the tables of social science researchers by the end of the Second World War. So we see that it was during this period the people who were imprisoned by the Nazi police, once they got released from these jails, they began to talk about their experience, tragic experience, to the public after the war. You might have seen a film, documentary prepared by Alan Rusnais under the title Night and Fog. It is a documentary which joined together many clippings of the Nazi jails, videos and photographs, and also the oral narratives of the people who escaped from such Nazi prisons. It was bringing before us the brutalities human beings committed under the banner of fascism. So it brought forward renaissance of memory as a source to write the history of the people. This was the beginning of oral history becoming a scientific discipline. Similar experience, similar changes began to appear in other fields also. Many good books began to be written. Materialist interpretation propounded by Marxian theory also began to spread to many newer areas with the outbreak and the end of the World War. So we can see the crowd became an important subject. Mentality became another important area of inquiry. Rumors, then fascism, brutality, etc. So oral history became a dependable source to write the history of 1940s. Now historians began to use the same theory to reinvestigate the Revolution of France, the Hungary 40s of 18th century, and many other issues. This was the proper beginning of oral history becoming a scientific discipline. Now we see in the 1970s, there was severe again the mushrooming of criticisms against oral history when it became more popular among the common readers. They were highly interested to hear the voice of those experienced people. And again, the criticisms revived. By the 1970s, oral historians did not stop there after hearing these criticisms. They started writing methodology books about the conduct of oral history. The result was the preparation of handbook of oral history and also guidelines for oral historians. So the positivist approach to memory and subjectivity, raising criticism against the methodology of oral historians, charging that oral accounts are subjective, were countered by bringing forward a scientific methodology for oral historians. By the 1980s, again there was further improvement, and that was the beginning of interviews on a scientific line. Historian became or an oral historian became an interviewer, and he began to interview the whole process. He began to sign agreements between the interviewer and the interviewee, and he began to publish these things for research scholars for perusal and also re-examination. So this interview methodology further improved the scientific base of oral history. And today, after 1990s, we are living in the age of digital turn. Now, digital equipments have become very cheap. Those who own a mobile phone are now capable to conduct good digital interviews and thereby record and also copy down the memory of the ordinary people. The number of oral historians have increased in the world, but it has not become a serious discipline in India even today. I began to offer this course only 2 years back. But when students and research scholars and researchers began to see that there is value in going to the people and hearing them, the supporters are increasing day by day. And I also started novel experiments, giving focus to research problems of the people. Students were directed to undertake interview with one person or a group of persons based upon a research problem and find out what they know and what did they perceive and how did they see that issue in their life, so that these are producing good research work in the form of articles, books, etc. So this is to be encouraged to for what? To make the invisible people visible in our research halls and libraries. So the first stage, these are the 4 stages. During the first stage, in the first half of 19th century, when the First World War ended, and in between the 2 world wars, there was severe economic crisis. Countries in the world were piling up money for the next World War. The First World War ended with a call for the next World War. So that most of the developed countries were using their income for piling up armaments. This created economic problem all over the world, which seriously affected the developing countries and the poor nations. America at that time made an experiment to give employment for teachers, cultural workers, etc., who became jobless during the 2 world wars. Some scholars have said that this was economic depression, but Kondrativ and others argue that this was not economic depression, it was economic uncertainty. Whatever it may be, in US, the government gave employment to the people by giving them job of oral history, preparing transcripts of the people who lived in between 2 world wars. And as a result, huge number of transcripts as oral history began to appear. This project was called New Deal Federal Writers Project. These pieces, about 10,000 women, men were documented by artists, teachers, and cultural workers. They interviewed nearly 7,000, 6,000 people. And this massive oral history project became and we were deposited in universities for further research and also for posterity. Today, it has become a great blessing for new researchers to hear the voice of the ordinary people from the transcripts about their response to the problems of the interwar period. This was the beginning of the understanding of the value of oral history in 19th century, in 20th century. As a result, many universities became famous for oral history work. It was inaugurated by Alan Nevins in Columbia University. He understood the value of oral history and he wrote a book because the vision of oral history was not that much developed during that period. He wrote a book about Ford. He believed that only elite people and great men history are having history. Even though the New Deal project had brought forward the history of ordinary people, he was giving focus to the elite people in the society. But that was the beginning. By 1948, Columbia project preserved these interviews and it has become the rich repository of the people lived in the first part of 20th century. This Columbia Center for Oral History was the beginning. Alan Nevins became the founder of oral history in America. That was the beginning of a wave. It moved from America to other parts of the world. Social scientists understood the value of oral history. They saw that archives and the written records are not giving us the story of the underprivileged and unprivileged. So to make these classes, these people visible in history and social sciences, they also copy down oral history work in other countries. In 1940s, 1950s and 1960s, we see the application of oral history in many areas. I teach history, I taught the history of French Revolution by using many books, CDM Gettilby and like others. But if you read these two books, you can understand what is the importance of oral history and the ordinary people in making changes in society. George Rood brought forward an excellent book telling us the behavior, the role of the crowd in effecting changes in the society. The Crowd in the French Revolution is such a book which tell you how the crowd behaves, and it is an interdisciplinary investigation how the crowd become a dominant factor in changing the fortunes, the future of a society. Like that, Lucien Febvre, The Great Fear of 1789. You can see that from 1940s, the writing of French Revolution history was revolutionized by the appearance of a new type of methodology in historical inquiry. By the second stage, Alistair Thompson was pointing out the necessity of a methodological support for oral history because there was no end to criticism, attack on oral historians by the conventional social scientists. So to counter them, from America itself, scholars began to write down methodological books, handbooks about oral history investigation. This was such a oral history guide which helped scholars and also middle level scholars and ordinary people to understand methodology of doing oral history, because the main charge was it lacks scientific methodology and it was subjective. Now in the 1960s and 70s, we see the emergence of social history as a discipline. Earlier we were giving economic history as the main focus of historical investigation. We see social history, the involvement of sociology gave us new field of historical sociology, and also focus upon the ordinary people living in our the on the edges of our society. Oral story became the chief source to study them, because there is no written record. If you want to study the ordinary people, the laboring masses, etc., they are illiterate. They don't have written records. They don't have money to purchase book and pen. So they don't have diaries and monographs. But you can see these classes only in the records of the courts and police stations. But conventional historians were not interested in investigating them by going to the police station or to the court verandas. So, the study of the ordinary people, the base of the society, oral history became the chief source of enquiry. The labyrinth classes began to appear in historical works. They became the subject of research of university and research center students. Peasant workers, laborers, etc., began to become visible in historical research. Along with these laboring masses, we also see women becoming a chief center of our investigation by tapping the fortunes of oral history. We see lesbians appearing in historical research, minority ethnic groups, and also differently abled people. We were not able to see them in history till 20th century. People with physical and mental disabilities are also part of us. They are invisible in history. How can we make them visible? We have to study them. How do society see them? How do society treat them? What was the style of treating them in the past, in the medieval period? How did the British government see them? They are totally invisible in Indian history. So to make them visible, oral history is the most appropriate methodology. It was in this period George Ewart Evans wrote a book, Ask the Fellows Who Cut the Hay. In 1950s, when mechanization was taking place in agriculture, the people could not understand who were doing the manual work. Evans asked, we have to find out who were working in the field before the arrival of these machines. To explain this, he went to the huts of ordinary people and interviewed them. Their grandparents, their parents were doing them. They became jobless with the arrival of these machines. George Ewart Evans became the founding father of British oral history. So the wave now reached Britain. British scholars, the journal past and present, etc., began to support the endeavor because they found that ordinary people are becoming the center of attraction in historical research, social science research, with the arrival of oral history methodology. These are the two books written by George Ewart Evans, the founder of oral history in Britain, which gave focus to the ordinary people who were invisible, who were not present in historical research at that time. And it was in this juncture the hero of historical writing, E.P. Thompson, appeared. He wrote the masterwork, The Making of the English Working Class, not for the academic community. He was working among the ordinary classes. He was giving them classes for trade union leadership, trade union membership, and he stayed with them in their huts, slums, And these small notes joined together, and it became a wonder, the making of the English working class. This was also a masterwork in the field of oral history in Britain. The social history movement, started by E.P. Thompson, Evans, etc., became strong, powerful, and it challenged the dominance of economic history. Historians began to undertake the same venture in all universities and all parts of the world. It was also a further expansion of materialist interpretation of history. Social history movement gave space to the neglected people of the society. Individuals also find their space in historical research. The elite records did not speak about them. So these classes told different narratives. They told history in different, their perspective was totally different from the state, the ruled, the police, the judge. Naturally, we found that multiplicity of history voice is very important. The general public was not present in historical investigation till that time. They can be brought forward only by hearing them, by enabling them to speak. So they started to speak. We began to gradually abandon political elites and economic trends. So by the 1960s, the working class people, labor movements, members of subcultures, etc., part of historical research. It was during this time, people like Sumi Sarkar also took interest in exploring social history. This was the beginning of social history movement in India. And the discipline was getting strengthened through scientific methodology day by day. A leading figure who emerged in this field is Paul Thompson. He, in 1978, he wrote The Voice of the Past, Oral History. All these books are downloadable from the internet at free of cost. So read them and understand how they use a new methodology called recovery history to enrich historical methodology through oral history work. We see special focus upon the study of women by hearing them. Feminist historians began to appear. They exclusively did their research on the problems of women. Such people were hidden from history. That was the status of women by that time. Now they became appearing in history pages. Oral history methodology became very important to study ethnic communities and also illiterate people living in the margins and beyond. The new turn began to give voice to the voiceless and empower the neglected. Actually, there was no such a methodology in history investigation to mind this issue, giving voice to the voiceless and empowering the neglected. Paul Thompson wrote The Voice of the Past to highlight the importance of investigating women, making them visible in history. By 1980s, we see the focus upon women again became powerful. New scholars began to visit villages, urban spaces to meet women. Such a lady scholar is from Italy, Luisa Passerini. She is a leading figure in making the women powerful to speak about their attitude, their perception, their knowledge to the public. Actually, she was giving focus to the views of women during the time of fascist oppression in Italy. She is an Italian historian. Her books are also available to us for understanding oral history, importance of this discipline. Her work work ideology and consensus under Italian fascism is very important. What happens to the womanhood and women during fascist rule? It is very important. She said that the raw material of oral history consists of just of factual. No, it is not just collecting their voices and their words. The expression and representation of culture through produced through such oral history are also very important. This can be collected only through oral history work. Oral history is not just mere literary narrations. They are dimensions of memory, ideology, and subconscious desires. You can understand this part of oral history only when you sincerely do oral history interview, when you sit with a lady, and when you have that kind of rapport, emotional rapport with that lady, and when you listen to her voices. So this speciality of oral history cannot be done in any other discipline, any other methodology. Autobiography of a Generation is such a work produced by Luisa Paserini about women through oral history work. Oral history began to take up cultural history from social science methodology. And that was also a result of feminine historians working in this field. From 1970s, 80s, etc., we see women became our strongest group of people to work against fascist tendencies in the society, because they are basically secular, they are humane, and they can defend fascism from the domestic space onwards. And they can also inculcate such an anti-fascist spirit among their children. They are very powerful. By attending them, we can also make a counter movement against fascist in the tendencies in the public sphere by empowering women folk. Luisa Paserini is an answer to this issue. So we see that oral history began to touch unknown areas of investigation with the coming of newer and newer scholars. One important attack against oral history, even today, that we hear is the subjective nature of oral history. And there are no historians saying that archival repositories are giving us subjective information. We go to the National Archives or state archival repositories to collect evidences about different issues. But these records are prepared by the elite people, the colonial ruler, the policeman. They are subjective to their desire. But these people again say that no, oral history is subjective. What is wrong with the subjectivity? Some people become subjective because of their agonies, their passions, their experiences. Through scientific investigation, we can understand how this person became subjective to that, why he is speaking in that line. So it is a duty of a historian to find out the objective thing by exploring all facts available to us in different forms. The oral history evidence, the archival evidence, all these can be compared together through scientific methodology. So oral historian is not the only person meeting with subjective evidence. All people are seeing around them subjective evidences. There is no such an objective thing available to us for investigation. So cultural environments of memory and remembering is very important when we undertake oral history work. Memory and Utopia, Luisa Paserni's work, Women Migrants from East to West, another work by Luisa Paserini. She is a notable figure in the field of oral history research. So the cultural production, oral history as a cultural production became very important aspect of in the development of oral history. We see oral history is done by people living at the time of interview. He binds the present with the past. He travels behind when we ask questions to him or her. So he binds the present with the past. It is the most important character of history. So the same thing is repeated when we conduct such an interview. Experience about the past is seen through the mirror of the present in such interviews. But at the same time, interviews give us the personal memory which is invisible in archival records. Nowhere you can see the experiences of the witness, experiences of the people who heard the news sitting miles away from the, the event, the place of the event. So, such a social world can be created by undertaking the oral history work. So, it helps us to understand how the past is remembered by the people, how do they use this knowledge in their present day life, and what do they preserve for future, and how do this past knowledge is reworked, reconstructed by the people at the present. I was always uh, I always think about the current day development in Indian society today. We see around us things which are not desirous for the co-living of people together. And if you see, for the past many decades, India was investing huge amount of money for promoting secularism, unity and diversity, and also to understand the symbiotic nature of our Indian society. But in spite of them, what we see in the rural areas and also urban spaces, even the educated people are becoming part of communal movements and also promoting violence. Where did the fault take place? So there is something wrong with the work that we undertook for the past many decades. And that wrong is living far away from the ordinary people. We were not able to link the people's life with the academic world. These academics were doing their work by sitting in the palaces, in AC halls, and big university institutions. We could not go to the people and understand what to ask their response, what did they perceive, what were the problems they were confronting. So we have to bridge them, these two. Only by bridging them, we will be able to answer the problems, the challenges the people face in their everyday life. So, oral history can be seen as a recovery history. It attempts to recover the history of the invisible people in written histories. We make them visible in documents, in PhD dissertations, assignments, etc. So, this recovery methodology, history methodology, became popular by the end of 20th century. Reconstructive agenda became the dominant character of oral history today. Now we are living in the age of digital turn. Digital turn has revolutionized oral history. Like democratization of knowledge in the digital world, digital turn has also revolutionized the methodology, practices, analysis, storage, distribution. All elements of oral history is under transformation. From the recording equipment to the publication platforms, there is no need of money in our pocket to publish our findings. We can publish our findings with the video record or in written form in the social media or in the online journal. And the matter, the data we produce, the end product, the digital sound and the video recorder can be preserved for posterity. It can be transferred in seconds to people living in faraway regions. So this has posed new prospects for oral history in academic practices. We today talk about artificial intelligence and also the use of already deposited knowledge by uh, people who having knowledge about thorough about the technology. But the memory of the people, it is untouched by artificial intelligence. So to get to the purest form of fact and knowledge, you there is possibility of collecting that knowledge from the people when we conduct oral history interview, and it will not be a data which is plagiarized. So such a data can be collected and used for our research and also for finding solutions to day-to-day problems by conducting oral history work. The mobile phone, it can do all this work: interviewing, storing, democratizing oral history. So the new technology has allowed the incorporation of video recordings, online facilities in oral history. Along with this, as we said earlier, the photography trend has also enabled scholars to utilize photographs in memory recordings. When I went to a house in Kerala, that the members of that family, the earlier generations were part of the Indian Railways. So they are living in the same house uh, constructed by 2 or 3 generations ago. There is a that house, the visitors room is designed as in the form of a railway compartment, and I could see that many photographs were hung in the visitors room, and they are the photographs of their forefathers, grandparents, etc. So such photographs speaks you a lot of things. So photographs can be used as a tool in oral history to tap newer and newer information from the people who are living at the present. So such a photography trend is also very important when we understand the emergence of the discipline as a pure scientific discipline in the current day world. And if you look around in the digital space, storytelling, listening practices are also getting support. These are also changing the world of digital tech. We spoke about the attacks on oral history by conventional scholars, subjectivity, uh, transformation of uh, uttered sound. Oral history is a literature, it is a creative work rather than a dependable fact. Like that, many criticisms were there. But there are other methodologies which can be used to verify data with other evidences. We went to a village last week, and they told me that there was a river, a bridge connecting two edges of a river near their house. Now you can see such an evidence, any piece of stone marking as remaining as an evidence of the bridge. We went to the village office and we could discover the settlement register. And 110 years back, we saw that there the road was connecting such a bridge which has become which has totally disappeared today. There is a new bridge built constructed far away from this station. And this terrain was the terrain of a big conflict between the British government and the local people. So evidences, different forms are available around us, which can be connected together to find out, to verify the data we collect from oral history. So scientific methodology is very strong. Thereby, the support of the belief in oral history is increasing day by day, and it has become a pure interdisciplinary discipline in the academic world. Now, we have become good research scholars. You can see sound recording equipments can be effectively utilized, and the sound was the basic thing in oral history. These were the earlier instruments for collecting, recording sound. We don't know what was the sound of Tandia Topi, but if you go to the internet, you can hear the voice of Mahatma Gandhi, Jawaharlal Nehru, Subhash Chandra Bose, Maulana Abdul Kalam Azad, etc. The power of that sound is very important. Think about the power of the Tryst with the Destiny speech delivered by Jawaharlal Nehru in 1929 at Lahore. He delivered this Purna Swaraj speech. He repeated the same Tryst with the Destiny speech on the night of 14th August 1947. And such an inspiring speech, the power increases when you present that voice in front of us. So the voice is very important. the nature of the technology of sound recording developed later to handy audio recorders. Now we have this mobile phone and also advanced digital equipments in our hand. We can also use audio record, video recordings along with the sound recording. So earlier oral historians were focusing upon the sound. Now we can use both the sound and the video so that the facial expressions of the concerned person, the interviewee, can be utilized to understand the inner meanings of his word. In certain occasions, when he was speaking about such very important thing which affected his life, he would become silent. So there is a voice for his silence. So those things can be understood when we use video recordings of such people. Now we have manuals for beginners, good books to understand the methodology of oral history around us today. So take up this responsibility to spread the importance of oral history, to bridge the connection between classroom and the society, so that we can undertake issues which prevent the free flow of the society around us as research problems of our students and research scholars. Many of these people are disappearing in uh, uh, from day by day. So let us don't miss the chance. Let us undertake the work and do the work in a fast space. In 2018, we did this work of interviewing a freedom fighter, and after a few days, he died. He was talking to us the importance of the freedom struggle that took place in a locality. Okay, he was speaking in Malayalam and he is no more now, and he was giving us very important information. And last week also, we conducted interview with aged people. One person is 86. He has become handicapped because of the infection in his one leg, and he was giving us valuable information which are not visible in our historical records. Similarly, a 91-year-old Asainar, he was also part of the construction of a bridge and also very, very educated person. He was also sharing us many things which are not unknown to us, and he connected the period of freedom movement with the post-independent period. So these are very valuable information, valuable fact, evidences to tell the unknown areas of our history, and it also give answers to many questions which were not having good answers in history till 2025. So friends, oral history is was such a discipline which was untouchable for conventional historians and academics. Now it has become the most inspiring thing for all academicians, linguists, scholars of humanities, social sciences, and science disciplines. So, as historians, as language scholars, and also social scientists, let us promote this work to find a solution to current day problem, because we have a great responsibility in responding to certain issues which prevents the democratic spirit, secular spirit in our society. To find solutions to them, we have to create an empowered community, a historically conscious community, a community which is dare enough to raise, stand, and ask questions. This can be done through oral history work. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for the extremely engaging lecture. And you started with Mariam Dawsal's evocative work, Flowers of the Sun, The People and Land of Kutch. Beautifully captured the essential interplay between land, people, and memory. You also stressed on how the unwritten, the unrecorded, and the unheard together they form the other half that makes history whole. What resonated most with us was your gentle provocation to students of history to step out of classrooms and archives to listen, to travel, to engage with communities, to see history not as a static discipline but a living, breathing conversation, and for giving us so many wonderful examples of what constitutes oral history and how it became a scholarly discipline. So, thank you, sir, for giving us a reminder that historian's task is not only to read but to hear, not only to interpret what is written, but to recover what was spoken and silenced. So, it has been a very informative, very enlightening lecture for us. And with your permission, sir, we take up a few questions that have been posted.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes, sir. So the very first question is from me. Oral histories often involve memory, emotion, and subjectivity, as you have aptly pointed out throughout the lecture. Elements which have been viewed skeptically by conventional historians. Even though you have covered this already in your lecture, sir, I would just like you to once again emphasize on how we can negotiate between empathy and evidence when we work with oral narratives.
So, when we go to the ordinary people, they bring forward us a different situation, a different environment. So, students, when doing oral histories, are taught this topic, empathy and sympathy, and also legal issues, and also other issues involved in dealing with the knowledge shared by the ordinary people. I mean, the people we are interviewing. So these are to be negotiated by understanding the theoretical problem, and we have to consider the life of the people and also the information shared. By considering these humanistic values, uh, we will be in a position to negotiate with the empathetic problem. And generally, uh, why do we undertake a research? For whom we are doing the research? These are not for this is not a pleasurely activity. This is not just for educational advancement. We are trying to understand the feelings and emotions of the people. And good research scholars, good scholars, always become empathetic to the issues of the society, and they joins with them. There are examples of many such people who joined with them in finding solutions to the problems they confront with. Gail Omvedath, an American scholar, went to the Mahar community in Maharashtra and studied them, and she came back and submitted her thesis and became a PhD holder. What happened after that? She returned and joined the Mahar community, married a Mahar man, and became a member of that. So, true research is sharing our knowledge for the empowerment of the people who are suffering.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yes.
Mr. Sudeep has a question. What are some of the challenges you have faced while conducting or supervising oral history research in the field, especially while especially regarding access, ethics, or community trust?
No, that this is a very important question. These are major challenges when we undertake oral history research. And even today in my university, there are people who stand against oral history and also field research. In university is possible because there is some sort of freedom, but suppose you are working in a college, you cannot do that because there are 5 hours in a day. You cannot leave 1 hour. You cannot utilize the time, the actual working period for doing oral history. So such a freedom is required. Only that freedom supports the flourishment of the discipline. I mean, enabling the student community to undertake these kinds of tasks in future. I understood the value of oral history because out of 30 PG students in my class chose oral history as their elective subject. So these 20 students, they were they went through the syllabus, and in the syllabus only 50% was theoretical issues, other 50 was for creative work, individual work. And I found that most of the students have presented uh, their work in a creative way. And they were telling us, they were also inviting their students, their friends from other departments to hear their presentations because they were doing it in a sincere way. And they told me that it was for the first time we understood the difficulty that a historian confront in undertaking research, because doing history is very important. Nowhere in Kerala, this discipline, this course is taken for study for students. Only when such a task was undertaken by me, students began to understand the difficulty and the problems that we confront when we collect sources and writing history. I told them to collect the data, interpret them, find out other evidences, and also present it in the class after submitting a written record. Now we have decided to publish those 20 articles because they are fine pieces of life histories. Nowhere we will in a position to see such recordings of the life of ordinary people. And most of them are women. I told them that they are the biggest community in humanity and they are the greatest sufferers. And interview them, find out how did they see their life and what happened to them. Some became submissive to such experiences, some became victorious. So they are sharing good experiences.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yes.
So there's another question from me. You highlighted the multiplicity of histories and how unwritten stories make history complete. So when the oral narratives contradict official or archival accounts, though what so-called official, how do we reconcile these multiple narratives?
So there are good books to understand this theoretical problem available to us. There is a good book written by Ranajit Guha under the title Elementary Aspects of Peasant Insurgency, where he is discussing 6 elementary aspects which enables a community to become powerful to respond to challenges. One such problem he points out in that book is negation, the feeling of negation. And this feeling of negation cannot be identified any written document. But when you go to the people, they will be telling you the question of negation, because it is a feeling, it is a mentality. There will be no written record telling you this aspect of human living. So these things are available around us. Some scholars have produced good study about these issues. So we have to read a lot, we read all these works and become very powerful to understand the inner meanings that the ordinary people utter in front of you. And it also make you qualified to ask good questions, timely questions to the person who we are interviewing. So
Thank you very
archival,
much.
no, most of the archival records are biased. Don't believe that archival records are telling you the whole truth and unbiased truth. They are subjective. The paper, the ink, the style of writing, and the equipment used for recording these. Why certain records are only kept, while certain records are burned down? Why ordinary people's history is only seen in jails and courts? Why they are not seen in our archival repositories? Because they tell you the history of the people who had enjoyed power. So they are biased documents, biased information. When you go to the ordinary people, they also tell you one subjective information, because they were at the end of the experience. They were the sufferers. So they tell you from the sufferer side, you are not able to hear them till 21st century. Now there is opportunity to hear them. You can see that there is an opportunity to stand with two teams. Which will be the team you will be standing with? I will be standing with the sufferers, because I am studying history to help them to counter the challenge. So it gives you a chance to show your personality. Okay. So subjectivity is not a crime.
Absolutely, sir. This has to be emphasized a lot that just because a record is written or it is in paper form doesn't make it objective. And just because a history is oral or spoken, it doesn't make it um unreliable. So, thank you very much for emphasizing that point, sir.
Yes, yes.
Sakshi Kaleji has asked, so what's the impact of oral history in societal norms?
No, societal no. At the end of the societal norms, they are the people who are suffering all these laws, regulations, acts, statutes, etc. So, in order to inform the state, the court, the police, these people living at the margins, we have to help them to carry the voice to the administrative level. So, this is the power of oral history. The elite can communicate with the ordinary the state because they are very powerful. So the powerless becomes helpless. So let us give them hand to resist these norms. So only by that we can save them from many dangers. So societal norms, that we can intervene in these issues as responsible people by doing oral history work.
Thank you, sir. Nandan sir has asked, what are some examples regarding the methodological training which offers training programs for students and faculty to develop skills in oral history methodology and archival preservation?
Yes, there is an organization called Oral History Association, OHEA, and one branch of that OHEA is opened in India, OHEAI, Oral History Association India. You can take part in the conferences organized by OHEAI. Website is available to us. You can go through. Last year there was OHAI workshop at Cochin in Kerala. They were talking about people living on the edges of waters. Okay, I also presented one paper, the question of caste and water in society, with examples from Kerala. Uh, and this year they are going to conduct workshop about the people living in the desert at Rajasthan. So the people living in the desert also have the possibility of telling you a lot of stories about their challenging life in the on the desert. So by taking part in such workshops, you will be able to understand what is the methodology, and also you can meet people who are well experienced in oral history research. Along with this, you go to the internet archives, you can see manuals and also guidelines, style sheets, etc., written by good scholars, well experienced in oral history, and download them, study them well, and you can do it yourself. There are good books available at free of cost, downloadable from internet archives. Okay, oral and universities can take up the leadership of conducting oral history workshops for our children, school children, and I was also the chairman of textbook writing for schools in Kerala, and in 10th standard I have incorporated this methodology for 10th standard students. They are good in performing in conducting oral history assignments. So such people in future become interested in historical research, and they become social scientists. Actually, we need more and more social scientists to counter the problems in our society. Okay.
Absolutely, sir. Social scientists who are also social engineers.
Yes, yes,
Thank you
yes.
very much, sir. There is a question by Mushabbareen from RCUB. So, could you please tell me what exactly distinguishes oral history from other forms of historical evidence?
Now, generally, we believe historical evidence is a written record, inscriptions, no, palm leaves or bamboo plates, no, copper plates, etc. We were exclusively depending upon written records and also archaeological evidences. We could not meet people living at the present to understand what did they learn from their past generations and what is their attitude towards the society around them, the geography around them. This is the difference. We go to the living people because the prime duty of a historian is carrying the present, not the past. As E.H. Gar and other scholars have said, history is an unending dialogue between, not between present and past, the present, the moment in which we are standing. This is the crucial question. And we attend the problems of the present and we go to the past in search of answers to these questions. Okay, so that is the importance of oral history. We meet the people living in the present and find out evidences they carry, they learned, they collected from their past generations and also through their life experiences. Now, think about the knowledge of a person who lived for 100 years. They connect 2 centuries together. No record can do that. This is the power of oral history.
Thank you very much, sir. Uh, Dr. Manjusha Naik has asked, almost all mythology of India is based on oral history, and even local history is linked with mythology, but the origin of many dynasties of South India is linked with Yadava community of Lord Krishna. I think this is more of an observation than a question. So, do you
Yes,
have
yes.
anything to add to this?
No, every region will be having such mythologies connected with the people who conquered them, the land in which they lived, and also the people they met, and the people who were defeated by them, or those who defeated these kind of people. So there will be memory and also oral history connected with their life experiences in a particular. Geography is very important. Geography plays a determinant role in making the memory of the people. So diaspora, ethnography, all these are very important. When you go to the southern tip of India, you can see that Tamil culture, Dravidian element, the sea, the hills, and also the dominance of the Aryans. All these are very vital questions. So reality is also very important, but be critical. Be critical. Do not surrender to such oral narratives and do not surrender the present day. Do not disturb the present day world. We were living with in shared world. We were living together and bring out those things to bind us together, to promote unity, to to cultivate symbiosis. Okay.
So, talking about the importance of geography and of diaspora, as part of Kutchi diaspora myself, I was very happy to see the reference to Mariam Dozel's work, The Flowers of the Sun, a work which is deeply rooted in the connection between people and place. So,
This
how
is very
important?
important. Yes, this is very important. Uh,
Yes, sir.
our university is located on the near the ocean, Arabian waters, and there are small islands on the edge of the land. And last month, with my students, I went to an island, and very interestingly, I could see that the present day caste structure of the Indian society is not visible there, but our technology is connecting them. Have technology has connected them with the mainland. Now that present day problems are entering into their mind. I cannot see the fourfold Varna, the upper classes there. Only the lower classes went to that island and they settled there. And their beliefs, their temples, etc., are totally different from the belief system of the mainland. But after the construction of a bridge, they say that all these evils entered to our land. Now we have become unsafe. They were saying so. So the land, the site, the geography, the location, terrain is very important.
Thank you very much, sir, for highlighting the importance of geography in history. And coming to the last two questions, there's one by Joshna Parsekar. Sir, how does the transition from oral to written form affect the originality of oral literature? And as you mentioned, the oral literature plays very important role in inculcating values. So that is true. So the first part is a question.
No, actually, I was talking about oral history, not about orality. So, orality folklore is little bit different. We, through oral history work, meet people, interview them, produce an account. Okay. So, they are telling us their life experience, not this oral narrative. We ask them questions because we frame questions according to the research problem we identify. So they give us explanations they have from their experience as answers. So this oral narrate tradition and oral history is are different. you have to see oral tradition as a separate thing and value it, critically see it, analyze it, and also see how did they act their role in history. Oral tradition is very important. When the census was introduced in India, it was conducted. Census, the first census was conducted in Kerala in the end of 19th century. I studied the problem. I could see that there are many oral tradition with regard to the implementation of census in Malabar in Kerala coast. One important oral rumor that spread during the census work was that the world was going to end by the census day, because Vaigashi 5th was the last census day, and enumerators were told to report important experiences they had when they were meeting people and visiting houses. One oral enumerator reported to the higher authorities that when he went to a house on Vaigashi 5th, he saw that the mother in that house was crying, and this enumerator asked her why she was crying. She said that the world was going to end by Vaigashi 5th because it was the first census day. And you might have heard about in North India, in Kashmir, in UP, etc., during the first census day in 1871, people went to the river coast because they believed that the world was going to end. So they wanted to die by falling into the river. Okay, so such rumors were appearing in India as oral narratives. Jan Vansina has written a beautiful book about oral traditions. So go through that book and understand the difference between oral tradition and also oral history. Okay, both are very valuable.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir, for making that distinction clear to the audience. Now, another question by Mushabbareen from
I just
CUB.
wanted to add.
Yes, ma'am,
May I add
please.
something? Thank you very
Yes.
much, sir. Actually, this what you said now, it is very important to our students because in they are studying oral literature as a paper, and in that and they are also studying tribal literature, two papers.
Yes. Yes.
And in tribal literature, they are studying one novel, The Bronze Sword of Tengat Fakri the Tehsildar.
Ah,
So it is that novel is based on a ballad, Assami Bodo ballad, and Indira Goswami has written a novel on that. Based on that, Lavani, she has written a novel. So missing link in the history can be filled with oral history. So
definitely.
I just remember, yes. Um, so I think whatever you said now, I remember this text our students are reading. So this is one fact, like what they are studying and the theory, what you explained, it connects, sir. So thank you very
Yes.
much for a good explanation.
That's
Very,
good.
enlightening lecture it was. And one more thing I
Thank you.
wanted to say. So you said your oral practicals you are doing in Kerala.
Yes.
I think I will discuss with you later on that also how you are doing. We
Yes.
have author study
Has my,
paper.
yeah, Nidhi has my number with her. Collect her and
Okay, sir.
we can talk.
Right, sir. We
Yes.
have author study paper where we have practicals, and I think
Ah,
both can be connected. Like,
no. Give
thank you, sir.
importance to
Thank you.
practicals. Give importance to
Yes,
practical
sir.
work.
Yes,
Yes.
in author study paper we have practicals, and in oral study also how we can do. I can just discuss with you later, sir.
They will come in front
Thank
of
you,
you
sir.
with creative work. Give them challenge.
Right, sir. True. That is needed now.
Yes.
Thank
Yes.
you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Nidhi.
Thank you, ma'am. So, this question from Mushabbareen. To what extent can oral history be trusted if it is based on personal memory? I think we have taken up a similar question already, but if there is anything else
No,
to add.
an individual has the right to tell his perception, his opinion. It is very democratic. So we were not considering individuals in history. Only when we consider individuals, especially the people living at the edge of the society, we will be able to give share justice to them. So let them speak. We were not enabling them to speak. So the main purpose of a oral historian is making the invisible visible, making the voiceless uh, speakers. So that is to be undertaken. Thereby, we stand for humanity, justice, democracy, and also anti-fascism. So this is our responsibility.
Absolutely, sir. And when we say that, how can it be trusted if it is based on personal memory? So Bana's Harsha Charita was also based on personal memory, and Ravi Kirti's Aihole inscription was also based on personal memories. But they are now part of
Yes, yes,
historical sources.
yes, 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 yes.
So exactly, sir.
I wish
Even
to add here something, Manali. So, sir, I'm researching on Madhwa community's history. So, majority of the history is in the oral form itself. There is no written document in a larger manner. So, we have a biography book in Sanskrit called as Sumadhva Vijaya. Originally, the book was written on the basis of memories itself, though it was written, I mean, after a decade of Madhvacharya's Avtara, as it is believed in the book. Uh, but everything is based on the memories. Whoever saw Madhvacharya and whoever communicated with him, all those memories were gathered and were written in that book. Um, but in the end of the book there is no exact information about how Madhvacharya disappeared. So of course there are theories. So in such cases, what a historian can do, I mean, because uh, while separating mythology and history in historical research work, it will become difficult to balance the emotions of the people belonging to that religion and with the historical data. So, what can a historian do in such case?
now, freedom in research is the important thing, because if you are not able to use freedom in interpreting a tradition, a mythology, how can you do truthful research? You are afraid of religious communities. How can you be? No, we were doing that. Nowadays, we are afraid of certain people. Can we call it research? In Kerala we are doing that. We criticize, we challenge, we also scrutinize. No, it is the primary duty of a social scientist. We are not hurting the feeling of the people, but due to fear we are not doing that, and that fear is increasing day by day. So it means that free research is not possible, is becoming impossible.
In
Yes, sir.
Gujarat, there are many memorial stones, and some of them are without any inscription. But
uh,
one generation to another generation, the entire story is passed by how the warriors became.
yes, yes.
So that is also one important part of oral history.
There is a good book on the Dalit Devanganas of 1857. These Dalit memories tell you a different version of 1857.
Mhm.
They are speaking about Madadin Bangi. They say that Madadin Bangi was the person responsible for lighting the lamp. He was also a sepoy. He asked for a glass of water uh, uh, from a Brahmin. But this Brahmin is designated as the beginner of the revolt. But this person is seen nowhere. And if you go to the village, they sing songs of Madadin Bangi. And Dalit Viranganas are available there. So such things are there. Only through truthful, objective, scientific research, we will be able to give voice to them. Thereby we empower them. We recognize them.
Absolutely, sir. And as you said, fear is a great hindrance to research
Yes, yes.
because one cannot freely express what one has found, and that again leads to a distorted and twisted narrative, which is never a good sign. So,
Yeah.
thank you for highlighting that as well.
Yes, 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 yes.
Yes, sir. So, this is the last question that we have. Sir, can you shed
No,
some light
I
upon?
already explained this technological advancement during in the age of digital term. The fourth
Yes.
paradigm shift in the development of oral history as a scientific discipline. By the 1990s and from the 1940s itself, the tape recorder had appeared and it became cheap. So scholars began to use tape recorder to record the voice of the people. And gradually we began to have the video recorder. Now we have both technological equipments to record the video voice of the people, and there are digital facilities for transferring the data to the public, so that we promote democratization of knowledge. Before the digital turn, what was happening, my professor, when I was doing my post graduation and research, I have seen new books which arrives the library are taken away by the professors, and they return these books only at the time of the retirement. They keep these books in their shelf, because often we visit the house of professors, we see newer books kept in large shelves. They return these books at the time of their retirement. What happens? These are denied to them. Most of the academic journals are costly. These were not accessible to us. But what happens to us? I was telling you, these books are freely downloadable. So you can do it where nobody can prevent you. So make use of this thing. Let us collect knowledge and share this information and empower the community. So that has become a powerful weapon. Am I correct?
Absolutely,
Yes.
sir. Absolutely, and
Yes.
thank you for encouraging the students for pursuing the real knowledge, for pursuing what is important, and for doing uh, actual work rather than just trusting whatever is already written. So, thank you very much, sir. And
Yes.
it has been a wonderful, wonderful experience for us to interact with you, from to learn from you, and to just get all this knowledge from you. So, thanks for accepting our invitation. I
Yes.
now request Ms. Nidhi Katti, Founder Vice President of the History Enthusiast, to propose a formal vote of thanks.
Thank you, Manali, for giving me this opportunity. So it was really a very wonderful lecture, and as I'm very much interested in local history and oral history, it was a very interesting lecture for me personally. Thank you so much, sir, for accepting our invitation and answering all the questions patiently, and performing such a beautiful lecture. Thank you so
Yes.
much, sir, once again. And in future also, we expect your support for the history enthusiast group, and we look forward for more such collaborations with you, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay.
I also take this opportunity to thank Mr. Nandan Shastri ji, Honorary President of the History Enthusiasts. Thank you, sir, for your constant support, and sir always makes sure that everything is well organized. Though me and Manali sometimes behave in a lazy way, but he makes it sure that nothing misses out, and he wants everything to be perfect. And thank you so much, sir, for acting like in that way, because that makes us more active and inspires us to work more. Thank you so much. And I also thank Dr. Kavita Kusgal, ma'am, Chairman, Department of English, Rani Chennamma University, Belgavi, uh, for helping us in ideating the conference and making students actively participate and guiding us to organize this session. Thank you so much, ma'am. And I also thank Manali Momaya, founder president of the History Enthusiast Association, and all the core committee members, advisory members, very importantly, all the students who joined us today and also asked so many questions. This shows their curiosity and interest in the subject. Thank you so much. And I request all the audience to join us tomorrow at the same time, 8 p.m. IST. Uh, I will briefly introduce the title and the resource person of the tomorrow's lecture, and it is also going to be a very interesting uh, lecture tomorrow. We have Mr. Hanuj HR Patel ji, who is museum consultant, DSAG, uh, Vadodara, Gujarat, um, Art Museum, and he's going to talk on the topic the living epic of Baba Pitora, Ratwa traditions and tales. Again, a very interesting topic to be held tomorrow. Please join us. Like, share, and subscribe to the channel and video. Thank you so much. And we hope that the lecture was knowledgeable. Shubharatri. Namaste.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We're signing off
Thank
here.
you. Good night.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.